Hi. If you're at all familiar with reality TV in the 2010s, then you definitely know Bear Grylls. He ate and drank really gross stuff for years, and people call him a fake. Listen, I don't know if Bear Grylls is wringing the out of a snake and drinking it to survive because he actually needs to do that, or if he just wants to do that. But Bear Grylls has always been kind of seen as the Hollywood survival guy, at least compared to some of the more accurate survival shows. But now Bear Grylls has a game show. So this writer's strike has been going on for a while. I Survived Bear Grylls came out in May of this year. I think it is one of the most bizarre shows ever made. To avoid copyright and Bear Grylls probably kidnapping me and taking me to the Sahara Desert, I'm gonna do my best to explain this show to you using nice pictures and short clips of the show. So the whole premise of the show is each episode Bear Grylls recruits 5 random fans, or even sometimes naysayers, and puts them through what the show calls simulated challenges based on Bear's adventures, which isn't the worst idea. When I first saw the show, my initial assumption was that it was going to be something more like Survivor, where they have to, like, survive. That is what Bear Grylls did, but it's more of like an obstacle course show. Every challenge takes place in the same open field, just clearly on different sides of it. They just go from one end to the other where they have the other stuff set up there. And like the challenges themselves are usually nothing like what Bear Grylls did ever, but also they're really poorly thought out and like kind of half-assed. But worst of all, most of the challenges are just disgusting. I'm just so surprised how like colorful and bright this show is when it's like worse than Fear Factor. Like the stock music that they use doesn't add up. These people are having a horrible time. I definitely can't show most of the grossest challenges, but some of it's stuff that I didn't even think is allowed. I didn't think you could make people do this. And it's all for $10,000, which some of the things that they have to do aren't worth $10,000. You'll see what I mean. Oh, and I almost forgot. One of the most confusing parts of the show is the fact that for some reason, I guess the people who made it didn't think Bear Grylls was funny enough. So they threw in Jordan Conley, a comedian I've never really heard of before this, to be his, like, sidekick. Like, all he does is stand around and make jokes, and I feel kind of bad because what kind of jokes could you even make in this scenario? But no one ever laughs at them. I don't know if it's just the edit or if they all just, like, hate him or something. Several times they even make the joke that, like, no one there knows who he is. You can't keep making that joke. It's just mean then.
Do you recognize me?
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna work on that, Mom. If you don't know me.
Why did she laugh like that? I feel so bad for him. He doesn't, like, do anything.
You guys are here because you believe you got what it takes to survive in the wild when you're truly up against it.
And me. No one knows why I'm here.
So the very first challenge in the very first episode is one of the worst. And in the 8-episode season, they do basically the same challenge at least twice. So basically the contestants have to work their way up a slippery little slope while carrying awkward survival-related items, but the items they use are just completely random things, kind of related to, like, being outside. A lunchbox, a chair, a cooler, a tent. The first person to make it to the top is safe, and then they add another thing for them to pick up, and they keep going until the last person gets eliminated. Like all of the games on this show, it's very repetitive and a little awkward because they're also throwing these like fake styrofoam boulders at them.
You gotta admit, throwing the boulders is kind of funny.
But like they're not really throwing them at them. They're like very clearly trying to not hit them and trying to just get the boulder to roll down the slope. I mean, this girl gets hit straight in the head with a boulder and doesn't really do anything. I don't even think she noticed. So I would assume the boulders are more for like tripping you on the way up, right?
We're gonna be throwing boulders at you, some stuffed animals.
Let's go.
Have them throw taxes at them. That's hard to dodge.
Oh, I hate taxes.
First one.
What the fuck? Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, the winners get to have their seat on the Mountain Dew throne. The Mountain Dew throne is by far my favorite part of the entire show. It's not always the reward for a challenge. It's not always the reward for the final challenge or the first challenge either, They just throw it in the episode at a random time because the show is sponsored by Mountain Dew and they do have to show the Mountain Dew throne at least once per episode. But instead of integrating it into the show and making it like more of a thing, it's just kind of random. It's awesome. You never know when the Mountain Dew throne is coming.
This throne is like a reward to have a drink between challenges.
It's like a reward to have a drink. I forgot to mention they have to do this challenge without shoes on, otherwise it wouldn't be slippery. I guess they couldn't figure out how to make it slippery if they had shoes on.
No!
Come on, here we go.
Bear, why?
This challenge is actually so difficult that one of the contestants only makes it up the mountain in the first round, and for the rest of the rounds, just can't even get to the rope. This guy is like so upset, he's like having a tantrum because he can't get to the rope.
No! I gotta get up!
Which I understand. It looks really frustrating. But like, I don't know. This isn't a good game. And the fact that the game gets harder does not help this poor man.
And it is super slippery.
Oh my god! He was like fully flat on the ground.
Wait, what? Oh.
He sucks at this. How is this like a Bear Grylls adventure, by the way? Climbing? They're climbing with a rope up a slope? Like, none of the games have any connection to, like, anything. There's one where they, like, fight zombies. Bear Grylls did not fight zombies. He never did that. We're still on the first episode, but the next challenge they do is a word scramble. And see, guys, you don't understand. Bear Grylls in the wilderness will often find words and have to unscramble them. This is just like one of Bear Grylls' adventures. You guys don't get it. The twist with this word scramble, what makes it a survival word scramble, is that whatever the word is, you have to guess it to not eat that thing. So the first one is fish eyes, which too easy. But the guy that guesses fish eyes doesn't have to eat the fish eyes in this raw ostrich egg that they have to drink at the end no matter what's in it. They have to eat everything in it. It's just like when Bear Grylls had to do the word scramble and then had to eat the pig uterus out of the raw ostrich egg. It is just like that. It is just like that. And so at the end, even if you got all the answers right, you still would have to eat just the ostrich egg. But no one got all of them right. So they all have at least 1 or 2 or 3. Some of them have 5 of these like horrible things in their egg that they have to eat. They have to eat it.
Pizzle is another word for penis.
And they do. And it's so gross. Bear Grylls didn't have to do this. I genuinely feel horrible for these people. Like, if you're gonna do this, it's gotta be more than 10K. I'm sorry. It has to be more than that. I would not eat pig penis in raw ostrich egg with fish eyes for $10,000. I wouldn't do that. 50 maybe. 100 definitely.
Hey, who wants some dessert? Oh, wait, sorry. We're going to the desert.
They show a picture of a snake to be like, we're going to the desert. And then they're just still in the same field that they're in. This is just the same place. This is still the first episode. But this by far is the grossest thing I feel like I've ever seen on TV. So the contestants have to dig for 9 puzzle pieces in 3 different little sections representing different things Bear Grylls has had to dig through. The first is raw meat filled with worms, and they have to dig the puzzle piece out with their mouths. Like, I'm serious. And they do it. 10,000's not enough, Bear. 10,000's not enough. And then they have to dig through a giant tub of shit with their hands to find more puzzle pieces.
Y'all are some super pooper scoopers.
And then they have to dive in a barrel of dead fish and blood. How is this allowed? Just how is this allowed? They can't even say shit on this show.
Embrace it.
But they'll show all this. They'll show all that.
This challenge takes my experience with the sand bushman and simulates what it's like to hunt for your survival in different environments.
So it's simulating what it's like to hunt for your survival. You get the puzzle pieces. Oh, it's so gross, dude. Here's the final challenge, right? I'm standing up because now we're talking about the final challenge of the episode. How are we going to decide who the best survivor is? Shoot a picture of yourself, a framed picture of yourself, with a slingshot. What? $10,000 on the line. You just dug your head through gross worm-infested meat. Now you just gotta shoot a slingshot? I feel bad for the guy who lost on the first one because that was way harder than this. It's so anticlimactic. Don't even put the Mountain Dew throne on there, nothing. Okay, there is a cooler of Mountain Dew that they have out just because they have to. Like, now it's worth $10,000. Yeah, shooting yourself with a slingshot, a framed picture of yourself with a slingshot, I guess would be a $10,000 kind of game. But not digging your head through meat and your hands through poop and then your head again through dead fish, having to eat the pig uterus. That's just not how it should be. That's just the first episode, and you better believe I watched every single one. As much as I think this show is bizarre, I do kind of love it. It's like the whole show is a bit. And hey, I mean, if anyone from the show's watching, I am probably the biggest fan, and this can be considered my audition tape to get in for season 2. So let me survive Bear Grylls. I'll do it. As much as I would love to be on the show, I would probably lose. I don't want to do any of that stuff that they're doing on there. But a lot of the contestants do have the attitude like it's going to be like a cakewalk. Then they make them drink pig piss. That's disgusting. Bear Grylls. In the second episode, there's a challenge where they have to cross a mud pit on a rope. But I don't think they explain the instructions very well in person. A lot of the information is ADR'd, very obviously.
The rest of you go again. Each round adding more items to carry. Till eventually just one person is remaining.
One girl did the rope climb completely wrong, even though she still won. And one guy just couldn't get on at all. And it was really sad. Every episode, it feels like someone just can't do one of the games. Just can't do it. Maybe they don't understand the way to do it because they didn't explain it, or maybe it's just too hard. Maybe they're not built to be a survivor. They would never be able to hit a framed picture of themselves with a slingshot. The second episode also has another quiz type game where they just have to answer a question by eating the thing they think the answer is. Why? But the only reason anyone lost is because this guy thought that ox lips had cartilage in them.
Which do you think's got the most cartilage? You make that choice.
What has the most cartilage in it? And he answered lips? Idiot. I would survive Bear Grylls. I know that there's no cartilage in the lips. One of my least favorite challenges is one where they have to run from one side of this little field to the other to squeeze a fake stomach. I think these are fake stomachs, but they are full of stomach acid and other gross stuff, puke and piss and poop. They have to squeeze it into their mouths and then run to a cup and then spit it into the cup. And each round they fill up a cup with a straw in it, and no matter what, they have to drink whatever's in that cup. So at the end, unless you win every single round and get to dump your fluid out, you have to drink this nasty stuff. 10,000 is not enough, Bear.
That straw really sucks.
See what you did there.
Sometimes they will give Jordan Conley something to do, and the biggest role he plays in one of the challenges, he makes it like less fair. They had Jordan spraying people with a hose as they were trying to climb a rock wall in order to simulate a rainstorm. Oh, and by the way, they have to have an egg in their mouth while they're climbing the wall. And if the egg cracks, they have to start over.
Control that egg.
But it's hard to like make it fair when you're just spraying people with a hose. And I don't think he did this on purpose, but the last guy, Jordan, is just like spraying in the head.
I'm here to show my kids that no matter what it looks like and how hard things can get.
It looks so mean. He didn't do that to the other people. The finale of this episode is actually a little more appropriate for a finale. They have to like drag a dummy across like some obstacle course. I don't care. But in like the next episode, they reuse the mud pit, and Bear Grylls says that there's thousands of fish in there.
In here are thousands of fish.
There's not. There's no way there is. The weird thing to me, though, is that this challenge is literally the exact same as the other mud pit challenge, except this time they have to hold a fish in their mouth while they do it. Fast forwarding to the final episode of the season, and this is the one with the zombies in it. The whole challenge is like, cut off a bunch of zombies' heads, pitch a tent, and then stake the heads on spikes. Did Bear Grylls ever do that? I don't think he did. Which I don't think this is as hard as the challenge before this.
Match what's in the canteen with the taste that's in each of your glasses. Monkey urine. Correct. Good job.
What is this show? What is this show? Okay, and the final challenge of the whole season is you have to ice pick a bunch of toy food out of an ice block in your underwear. I'm sitting back down. Listen, I might not be able to survive Bear Grylls. I can't even survive watching the show of other people trying to survive Bear Grylls. I don't know who came up with this show. None of the ideas are very good. Why is Jordan Conley here? Make him get in there and dig around in the poopy. As much as I do like Bear Grylls and Man vs. Wild, this show is so silly. And I do ironically really love it. And I'm glad I was able to share it with you today. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you again for all the support on my last video. It means a lot. And click subscribe to stay wild. Bye.